So a little over a week ago, I sent fighting game Twitter into a frenzy, is what I want to say. So what does it actually mean? And before we even talk about these tweets, don't harass this person. There was a lot of discourse back and forth already about this. So the tweet reads like this. I've noticed that recent fighting games are having a paradigm shift towards aggression mechanics. Street Fighter 6 Drive Rush, Strive Wild Assault, Grand Blue, Rising Raging Chain, even Tekken 8's new hit system. We are moving past the age of footsies and neutral and into an age of Unga. And as you can see by the replies, the retweets, a lot of people had stuff to say about this. Now the reason why I'm saying I'm involved in this frenzy is because of course I had to say something reading this the first time. I replied with nothing but a thinking face emoji and a video. This video took me about 10 minutes to make, just 5 minutes of finding some clips and 5 minutes to put everything together. So the point of this video was to just show that there's always like neutral skips in fighting games. I tried to use like quick examples I can think off the top of my head. So Super Turbo Vega, Round Start Genin with Yoon. By the way, this is my favorite one. Two characters, I mean, people really didn't like Seth, but for me, these are like two characters in SF4 that are definitely not traditional footsies by any stretch. Myself doing full screen coudoir, a bunch of Morgan just zoning, and funny enough too that somebody watched this and they were like, Chris G wasn't even that good at doing the Morgan Soulfist stuff at this time. Just the voice clip was what really sold this here of Chris Matrix just being like,
oh my gosh, he has so much stuff on the screen, and I know firsthand Marlon Pot does not know how to fight anything like this.
SKD during overdrive into many swords on screen plus teleports. Again, myself exposing myself, doing key blast assist call into full screen teleport. What really struck me about this tweet is that last sentence. We're moving past the age of footsies and neutral and into an age of Unga. That's what set me off. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you're familiar with this, but if you're new, watching me either for the first time or recently, it's a unique sour spot for me to talk about old fighting games versus new fighting games uniquely. So of course, I had to say something. So first, I want to talk about why people care so much about neutral and then like really break this tweet down, because again, I made sure to emphasize this. Basically the thing that got me was the last sentence, right? But there is actually truth in this tweet. So I'm referencing my new best friend, Lord Infil's glossary, the fighting game glossary for this. So the definition of neutral, according to my new best friend, Lord Infil, is the stage of a fight where neither player is blocking or getting hit by anything, and you are trying to figure out the best way to either start or continue your game plan. There's also a bit of an implicit assumption that the characters are not point blank from each other, so there's some wiggle room to move around and use a wide assortment of attacks. Footsies is one important aspect of playing a neutral game, and you will often hear people talk about the neutral. For example, Ryu loses the neutral in that matchup means that Ryu has a hard time finding a place on the screen where he can start his game plan without putting himself at risk. Another common use of neutral is just anytime your character is not blocking, being hit or knocked down, even if you're point blank, and your character is able to take any action. If your opponent attacks you with a string, you might say, I return to neutral in the middle of that string. This implies that there's a gap, so you have a chance of trying to evade or trying to attack, maybe with a Dragon Punch. As if that's not enough, neutral can also mean an attack that's either plus or minus when it's blocked. You hear the term 0 on block, even on block, and neutral on block for this. Both characters will recover at the same time and can attack at the same time, which might lead to trades. Okay, so there's actually more definitions of neutral here than I thought. For our use, and at least from my experience playing fighting games, the first two are far more commonly used than the last two. So we'll be just talking about it from those perspectives. So neutral is so important to fighting game players because it actually does a couple of things. So as far as the game state, it's when both people are actively playing a lot. So when you're on offense and the opponent on defense, even though the opponent is defending a lot, they might not actually be able to do a lot of stuff, like straight up attack you back. It's a lot of defending and trying to like get context clues of what you might want to do and things like that. If you're knocked down, the defender has even less agency than that. So most of the game of fighting games is neutral before a hit connects or somebody gets some type of advantage. Another reason why neutral is very important to people is that that's where a lot of like the player expression meme, I shouldn't say meme, because it's not a meme, but it's not a term I like. But basically, different people play neutral differently because people make different choices, and people can be in the same situation and make a different choice. So in neutral, you get to see the most of these choices because the players don't have a direct advantage at that time. And then finally, as far as like what is hard to do in fighting games, on the scale of everything, right? If you have been playing these games for a while, combos are pretty easy for you. Also, offense is very easy for you, and running like knockdown offense, especially what we call set play, is very easy for you. Defending is difficult, to be honest. Difficult, but there's degrees on like what skills you have, what character you're playing, things like that. Neutral is usually one of the main things that people use to be like, this player is a good player and that player is not a good player. So this is why you'll hear a term like neutral skip, and a lot of people will use it in a derogatory way. They're like, oh, they used a neutral skip to get in. They didn't earn the approach. They used a neutral skip to get in. If we revisit this tweet and my tweet, there are things in fighting games for a long time that either skip neutral or have like, you just have like way more of an advantage of neutral than people might realize. Old fighting games romanticized, probably the better way of putting it. So Street Fighter, the classic, is Ryu and Ken walking back and forth and whiffing crouching medium kick. Guilty Gear is, to be honest, I don't know. When I asked people when Strive was coming out who played Exerd what they thought real Guilty Gear is, I got so many different answers that I didn't think I was playing the same game as some people. I thought Guilty Gear was a fighting game with high-paced neutral where most of the standard characters at least don't convert after all this stuff. You vie for advantage, and then once you get your big advantage, you run your game plan. Really, really, really hard. BlazBlue, while a beloved game, has had plenty of meme characters in the past. Valkenheim can whiff punish you from like full screen, for example. New 13 exists, Arakune exists. So even though I use character specific examples, what I was trying to say was that these things have just been around. But the main point about this tweet is about this thing happening at a system mechanic level. So they talk about Drive Rush, Street Fighter 6, Wild Assault, which I mentioned because, by the way, there's a lot of back and forth. I talked to various people in this tweet thread about these ideas. Strive Wild Assault, you would have to talk about White Wild Assault specifically, because the other two you don't really use for neutral. They're kind of like offense combo things, where White Wild Assault specifically has a neutral application, and not a lot of characters have this. Specifically, Nagoriyuki, Gold Louis Dickinson, Bedman, and Potemkin. Grand Blue Rising, they listed Raging Chain, which most people would say, I guess basically anyone who plays the game. I don't even play the game and I know this. At the time of this recording, I haven't even picked up the game. I'm waiting for 2B because I'm educated. But Raging Chain wouldn't really be the one. It'd probably be 66L, the universal dashing plus move. I have heard many jokes, and if you play Grand Blue, let me know if this joke is accurate at all, because I will not know until 2B drops, that 66L is basically everyone has Soul Far Slash. And for Tekken, I can't really comment because I don't play it, so I don't really know what the heat system is. In my opinion, I would drop the discussion of heat and actually mention Super Dash, which I'm pretty surprised they did not mention at all. So if you're talking about these things from a system mechanic perspective, honestly, it's pretty true. So there's certainly a trend of fighting games all kind of trying the same ideas. So I want to say like from 2009 to like Street Fighter 5, like Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5. Side note, this was also something that I mentioned in this thread, and I mentioned this in videos before. I tend to see like Street Fighter do something, and then a bunch of other fighting games try like their twist on like the main thing Street Fighter is trying to do. So like let's take Street Fighter 4, right? So there's focus, so there's like a neutral mechanic, and then an emphasis on comebacks and just making controls easier, right? So you see this in a bunch of other games. So like I play BlazBlue, for example, so BlazBlue has advanced inputs. It's not really like a comeback mechanic, but there's definitely a focus on making things easier to execute and making Oki weaker, which I think BlazBlue was a little bit ahead of the game. Even though Oki is good in BlazBlue, it was kind of ahead of the game of this like, we don't want people to just get knocked down and die. Even though, again, there are definitely characters who are good at knocking you down and killing you in BlazBlue, it's not super straightforward to do compared to a game where you just hard knock down somebody and just go. As for Street Fighter 5, it was definitely like kind of like forced neutral. Knockdowns were not that good, making it so people can like vary their wake up, not giving you a lot of advantage, bouncing things around minus frames. And then other games would do that too. It's actually a really common thing in modern fighting games right now that many characters just don't have advantage very easily compared to older games. And making combos generally easier. So this neutral thing really holds. And the main thing is, some people will be like, skill issue, check the thing, neutral skips is part of fighting games. I will definitely say that thing is part of fighting games, but I do think you gotta address the system mechanic thing, because I think it's kind of done on purpose. Like many other people have said, it's kind of done on purpose, but it's tied to something that people haven't really been paying attention to. So the bigger thing, even bigger than a neutral thing, is you might have noticed that many high-level players continuously, if they use like letter rankings, continuously have moved the lowest rank up. So like in the past, you might have seen like maybe F tiers, definitely D tiers, maybe F tiers, but as time has gone on, you'll see like the lowest tier being like B plus or A minus, or something like that. For a while, I was like, oh well, devs have gotten better at making fighting games, devs have gotten better at making characters, so even like the weakest character still has good aspects, and this is true. But I also, past couple years, I've been thinking a little bit of this does have to do with the actual mechanics of the game. So this neutral aspect thing really ties into this. So let's use Dragon Ball as an example, because I have a lot of experience in that game. Imagine DBFZ with no Super Dash, right? And how different a game that would have been on launch. How much better Beerus would have been. How much better Frieza would have been. How much better Trunks would have been. How much better top tiers would have been, like Kid Buu, for example. How much better he would be if there was no Super Dash. Why am I saying it like that? Most people see Super Dash and they're like, this is enabling. This is really, really enabling. Scrubs can just get in on me for free from anywhere. My actual most despised Dragon Ball mechanics are the variable knockdown and reflecting into tag. Those are the things that actually bother me the most. Super Dash actually doesn't bother me that much. One, all the characters are made to interact with this mechanic. And two, it kind of democratizes the neutral a little bit. So like the Yun example I used earlier, for example, if you play Third Strike, you know a ton about how stupid Genei-Jin is, right? Even though everyone has supers and everyone uses super meter, Yun uniquely, even though Genei-Jin is 1 bar, it's a very, very short bar, so you have to deal with it all the time. So these modern mechanics are the same. So for Dragon Ball, Super Dash looks the same. Like everyone presses the 2 buttons and you just Super Dash, but different characters have different Super Dashes. What do I mean? Characters both do stuff differently after Super Dashing. You will use Super Dash plus assist differently depending on what assist you uniquely pick, and your characters will defend Super Dashes differently depending on what you pick. So even though the mechanic is universal and it works the same way when you just press the button, once you're actually in a situation, it actually varies a lot by character how you actually deal with it. Drive Rush kind of similar, right? So everyone has Drive Rush. Drive Rush is bullshit. When I hear about people talking about and complaining about Drive Rush, I really feel like they're talking about the stupid ones. We're talking about like the fast ones, right? You talk about like DJ's teleport. Honestly, come on, teleport. Jury's teleport, things like that. The mix-up Drive Rushes are also quite strong, to my understanding, right? So like Manon, for example, strike throw character, you get to pull up as a grappler, you get an immediate strike throw because your button is plus. So despite the mechanic being universal, it's applied differently by character, and understandably at a base level, and I understand why, so much more why people have these complaints, but at a base level, you will feel like characters feel the same. You will definitely feel like characters feel the same if you don't really dig into the roots of the game, or into the dirt, into the hole. If you don't hop down the rabbit hole of the game, you'll think that characters are very similar. Now, I made a video a couple years ago when Strive came out about like how some fighting games feel heavy-handed because of this, especially when new fighting games come out, because over time they do learn how people actually interact with the mechanics, and then they make new interesting characters, blah blah blah. The thing that I ended up not liking about this tweet, despite there being some truth in it, because it's talking about mechanics, is not just my traditional sour spot of I don't like it when people just go old game good, new game bad, new game unga, new game stupid. Is that I think it kind of undercuts that these mechanics, by these mechanics being universal mechanics, it's like everyone has a chance of doing these things. So it's like, by the way, this is definitely pick your poison. Do you want a game where only like 5 or 6 characters? By the way, I'm definitely, this is a hypothetical Dragon Ball. Would you rather have a game with like 25 characters but like only 6 real characters because they just have these things that other characters don't have? If you don't have these things, you don't exist. Or would you rather have a game that has 25 characters but it has like 18-ish characters, like there's like 7 to 10 winners, but then there's like an additional 10 pretty good. Like if someone busts their ass or has like a really good day, they could do it too, because a lot of the mechanics are universal. To use Dragon Ball again, of course it's a team game, but to use Dragon Ball again, I really like referencing this, but I really like talking about Axe Ice. There's a player from New York named Axe Ice. And in Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 2, he was really known for playing a bad team. He was playing Android 21, who was a good character by the way, Jiren on launch, who was pretty bad when he came out for a few reasons, and Goku Black, who basically the entire community flushed Goku Black really early in Season 1. Despite playing these characters, he performed pretty well. Why? So actually 2 reasons. One, just the game itself, again, because you're never like really locked out position wise. Like everyone has some type of projectile that beats Ki Blast, everyone has Ki Blast, everyone has the 2H anti-air, everyone can super dash, everyone has their own assist that helps with them, right? And specifically the assist he was playing, because he was playing a point character with very good mix-up level 3, a pressure assist, right? Because Jiren had an assist that had very high frame advantage, so he could do 50-50s with Android 21 a bunch of ways. And he had a character, his anchor character, Goku Black, not only had good solo neutral and people didn't know how to fight the character, but was also a beam assist, which was very, very, very valuable at that time. So even though he was using unpopular characters, he was still using common strategies. And I think that's kind of a theme of modern games, if you're looking at it in like a happy, like, oh, things are going well type of thing. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Some people got pretty heated about this. I'm very much, as far as from a play perspective, which probably makes some people mad, I'm very much you gotta do what you gotta do. Especially like once we're in a couple years into the game, if the thing that I've been trying hasn't been working, I'll definitely go to established meta top tier things, right? Like right now I'm playing Ramthal and Guilty Gear to help some Baiken matchups, so that should tell you, like, I'll do what I have to do type thing. But I definitely think it's an interesting discussion, and I actually want to do a video just talking about neutral skip, like fun, stupid neutral skips with someone in the next couple of weeks or a month or so. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave those in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it. YouTube really likes it when you watch other videos, so please do that. And I'll see you next time. Peace out.